Okay, so hello everybody. I welcome you. I'm very happy to be here with Dr. Raymond Keller, and today we are starting our discussion on the Gospels of Thomas that I'm currently translating or editing for the German edition. And I prepared a couple of questions that we are now starting to talk about so that I can complete the German version and have it published in the next weeks or months before Dr. Raymond Keller comes to Germany. So hello, Ray. Thank you very much for being with me today again.
Thank you, Anja. It's always a privilege to be with you and share information with you and all the friends of Venus that are out there.
Was there something that you wanted to start with?
Um, well, as I understand it, we're going to go through the sections that you outlined to get a clarification.
Yes. Are you seeing it?
Yes, I'm looking at them. I'm looking at them right now on the
Okay.
PDF file.
Okay. Maybe may I ask you one or two general questions before we dive into the details?
Oh, yes,
Um,
by all means.
yes. Okay. So you already know that I'm not an expert in the Bible. So I have not studied the Bible and I was not aware beforehand about these Gospels or the Gospel of Thomas and Mary Magdalene. So, one question is because during the editing and working on the German translation, I sometimes Googled some sentences, or when I had some questions, I typed it in and I Googled it, and I found out that there are many versions, or that many parts of these Gospels of Thomas are already published by others. So my first question is, did you work on a template, or did you use one of the already existing versions and edited them, changed them, or altered them in some kind of way, or added parts? Or how do I understand now the fact that there is already Gospels of Thomas published, and what is the difference now from Dr. Raymond Keller?
Okay, mine provides a further illumination, further light and knowledge regarding them. I read all of them, and then the parts that were confusing or missing is what I delved into with supernatural means to fill in to fill in the important information.
So the basis is one work that was already published, and you used that and altered that and added the parts with the supernatural means, or was it
Yes,
a
many
compilation of?
different
Yes.
yes, many different versions.
Oh, so you did a compilation, and
Y-
then
y-
you altered what was missing.
Yes, to seek clarification from the beyond the veil for what is the true meaning of it, the true interpretation.
Wow, that's amazing. And you know what? Because now that I read it, I read now the German translation, and now we probably we can even add to the clarification, because there were still a few parts that I didn't understand. Of course, I don't
Yeah.
have the
Oh yes, and
comparison.
I was looking over the comments, and I see that it does require. It's okay as it is, but it does require uh, uh, further expansion to avoid confusion.
Okay, let's start with the first. So I have it printed out. I have my work was to read the German version, and all the parts that I did not either understand from the content, or that I was not sure which German words I would have to use, so that I need some clarification for a better understanding, I copied them out of the original text and made a list. So let's see how far we come today. I'm not sure if we can cover all of them, because it is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 pages with all these parts, and I have some questions. So let's just start with the beginning. That makes sense.
Okay, sure.
It's from the part Gospel of Thomas, and it's from chapter 22, Jesus in the secret place. And I'm just reading it always, so that I also get a feeling for what did I really not understand, or what was really my problem. Why did I choose this part and took it off? The disciples of Jesus wanted to know the place where he was coming from. Show us the place where you are, since it is needful for us to seek it, they said to the master. Jesus replied, whoever has ears, let them hear. There is a divine light in the hearts and minds of the illuminated ones. It is the light, it is a light that brings radiance to the entire world. If the light in that one burns out, then those around the other one also shall find themselves in darkness. And my question was, how can the light in that one ever be burned out? This sounds so threatening or frightening. Can you comment on that?
Oh yes. In the New Testament, there were many that had fallen away uh, after after receiving the light and had been overcome by the world. When we look at the apostles, of course, the most notorious one was Judas. And then those that followed with Paul, some of them dropped out on the mission field and failed to continue working with the apostle Paul, and abandoned him along the way. So there's a grave responsibility in being a teacher, um, and presenting the light, being called to bring the light to the world. So if the teacher loses their light, then the the disciples or the hearers, the students, will be lost in the darkness.
I think I understand that. I just don't understand it still in this particular sentence. Why is it said if the light in that one burns out? In which one?
Oh, in the so we should say, um, um, if if the light um, if the light of the teacher, or the apostle burns out, then the other ones, the people that are listening will lose their access to the light. They'll be stumbling in the darkness.
So it, because my understanding when I was reading this phrase was, if the light in that one is, as if it was referring to himself, to Jesus, or to who? I mean, to that one. Who is that one? It's not only one, right? So it's meant that everyone who is a light bearer.
Oh yes, if the um, if if the light in the bringer, or the one who's proclaiming the gospel, proclaiming the kingdom, if that goes out, then those around him or her will find themselves in darkness.
Is it, I mean, when you were, what is it, is this one of the phrases that you were you were writing, or is it one of the originals? Do you know that?
No, I was writing this.
Then why did you write if the in that one?
Oh,
What did
if
you
the
mean?
light of that one burns out, of the illuminated one, if the light of the illuminated one burns out,
If the light off or in the illuminated one?
if the light in the illuminated one burns out, then those around will be left will find themselves in darkness.
Burns out, then those around, and the other one is also we have to delete.
I would say if the light in the illuminated one burns out, then those around him or her will find themselves in darkness, will find themselves lost in the darkness. That would perhaps be a better translation. It makes sense in English, but I guess rather than a pronoun there, using the one, it should be more specific and say, if the light in that illumined one burns out, then those around him or her will find themselves lost in the darkness.
Okay, so we leave it in the English version the way it is because you say it's understandable in English or it makes sense, but in German, I was
Yes,
just.
in English, because that one is a pronoun that's referring to the illuminated, one of the illuminated ones that's in the previous sentence.
I see, I see, I see, I see.
It's that one would be a pronoun because it takes the place of a proper, it takes the place of a noun,
I
right?
see. Okay, now I understand it. Thank you.
Oh, okay. Well,
I just have to
that's a
figure
good
out how
question.
to say it in German then, but I understand it now better. Yeah. Because it's not the one, it's not just one, it's all the ones who are illuminated. If they lose their light, then those around, the followers or their group or their fans, whoever, they are
Right.
losing usually, unless they have found their own light. I mean, if eventually everybody has found their own light, we don't need a guiding light anymore.
Right, because the illuminated ones are the ones who are trying to help those around them, their students, the followers, to find the light within themselves and ignite that. But if if the teachers fail in their mission, if they can't sustain the light in themselves, then how can the people around them um, find their way out of the darkness?
Well, they have to find another light, either their own or another teacher.
Yeah, they would have to. That's right. They'd have to find another teacher or find it on their own. But
Yeah,
in the meantime, they would find themselves just lost in the darkness,
yeah,
stumbling in the dark.
yeah. Thank you. Okay, let's go to the next one. Let's see. Chapter 38, Identity of Jesus. Then his disciples inquired of him, "Who are you, that you should say these things to us?" Jesus answered them, "You do not realize who I am from what I say to you, but you have become like most of the Jews. For these are the ones that either love the tree and hate its fruit, or love the fruit and hate the tree, not realizing that the tree and its fruit are inseparable. Whoever blasphemes against the Father will be forgiven, and whoever blasphemes against the Son will be forgiven. But whoever blasphemes against the Holy Spirit will not be forgiven, either on earth or in the heavenly realms. And my question, my annotation, my note is, again, it sounds so frightening. And who cannot be forgiven? Isn't there forgiveness always?
Oh, yes. Um, in the Bible itself, it says the same thing, that whosoever blasphemes against the Holy Spirit will not be forgiven, because the Son and the Father are operative in the physical, material plane, but the Spirit is above all of that. So to blaspheme the Holy Spirit cannot be forgiven, because this, as it says in the Bible, that God is a spirit, and those that worship in spirit and truth. So let me find the reference in the King James Bible, or maybe I put it in here. Let me see, chapter 38. I may have put that in the footnotes.
That's a coincidence. I just had the book directly with one grab on that page with chapter 38. And
Oh,
is there a reference? Yes, there is a reference 35.
oh, okay, yes. Mark chapter 3, verses 28 through 29 in the King James Version. Verily I say unto you, all sin shall be forgiven unto the sons of men, and blasphemies wherewith soever they shall blaspheme. But he that shall blaspheme against the Holy Ghost hath never forgiveness, but is in danger of eternal damnation. God is a divine spirit, and all abiding therein are sanctified and empowered from above. So, in other words, let's look at it this way: as the Holy Ghost is like, in your house you have electricity. When you're plugged the socket into the wall, you have the continuous power coming in. But if you unplug it, you have no electricity. Therefore, you have no light. You have no heat. You have nothing. So if you um, if you fight against and blaspheme against the Holy Spirit, the Holy Ghost, what you're doing is cutting yourself off from spiritual empowerment.
Yes. But if you understand that you made a mistake, it can be forgiven, can't it? I mean, when you regret,
Whosoever blasphemes.
huh?
Oh, I think once you will not be forgiven. I'm not sure for maybe in this life, or it says,
Either on earth or in the heavenly realms. I mean, it sounds really pretty strict and very hard.
yeah, yeah, exactly. Well, since Jesus said it, um, I think because here it says, but is in danger of eternal damnation. That's what it says in Mark, the Gospel of Mark.
In danger is something else. In danger is not unforgivable.
Will not be forgiven. So I would put perhaps add to the footnote, um, where it says in danger of eternal damnation, um, to leave it like it is, but put in the footnote that after eternal damnation, that um, there remains a possibility of redemption, as this may only, as this may only apply to the um, uh, to the um, to the temporality of the of your lifetime, or of a single lifetime.
Mm-hmm.
Because if there's a danger of eternal damnation, that means that you must have another chance. So probably in
Exactly.
another lifetime.
That's what I mean. This is why I was stumbling over this cannot be forgiven or will not be forgiven. Because
Maybe let's see, whosoever blasphemes against the Father will be forgiven, and whosoever blasphemes against the Son will be forgiven, but whosoever blasphemes against the Holy Spirit um, will put their soul in jeopardy, in danger of eternal. Let's see what the in Mark what they use there.
maybe the problem is that we don't really understand. I mean, I don't really deeply understand what is the Son and what is the Father and what is the Holy Spirit. So probably it's just too high to understand it.
Oh yeah, it's really complex. Although the Father and the Son, in Colossians it says that Jesus is in the express image of the Father. So that means that they must have a physical form, but the Spirit transcends materiality and is in the highest of celestial realms. So being a being of spirit and empowering the other two, it'd be the source of power and the connection to the spiritual realms for the other for the other two. Um, so I see that as significant and playing an important role in that. 38. Let's see. I think it could be rephrased to keep it this way for the English version, but maybe in the German edition, we should explain that more because everybody in the English relates to the King James version of um, of that of that statement in Mark. Um, so let's say we we adjust that slightly to be more in conformity with what it says in Mark, um, and then leave the footnote as it is. Whosoever blasphemes against the Father will be forgiven, and whosoever blasphemes against the Son will be forgiven. But whosoever blasphemes against the Holy Spirit will put their soul in danger of eternal damnation, or will put their soul in danger of being cut off from the celestial realms.
Okay. Maybe I just add another additional footnote that's a German footnote because then I could leave it the way it is. But it sounds hard, it just sounds hard that there is no forgiveness. You think like, what? There
Oh
must be
yeah.
forgiveness.
See that's how you know how English since you know 1511 or 1611 when the King James version came out, that's how people in the English speaking world were looking at it. But I see that does have a caveat in there, in danger of. So it indicates that there is a possibility
Yeah.
of being redeemed or forgiven. So given that the law of karma, they may not be forgiven in this life, but they may have another chance to do it. So if we change it, maybe we should just change it that whosoever blasphemes against the Holy Spirit will put their soul in danger. Will put their soul in danger of being cut off from the celestial realms, because then they would have to come back to the earth plane and go through it all again.
Yes. Yes, I understand. That's, and you see, do you see it? There is two typos. There is whoever blasphemes and who. So is it whoever or is it whosoever? Is there an S in this word or no?
Yeah, whosoever.
Well, then there's two S's missing. Do you see it? It's whoever blasphemes and whoever blasphemes against the Son, and then whosoever blasphemes against the Holy Spirit. It's in the English. There's the S's missing.
Oh, okay. So let's say but whoever blasphemes against the Holy Spirit will put their soul in jeopardy.
Yeah. Will put their soul in danger of being cut off from the celestial realms was beautiful, I believe.
Oh, okay. Yeah,
Okay.
let's go with that.
All right. Okay. Let's move on to the next.
Okay.
Yeah?
Okay.
Are you ready?
Solitary and elect.
Yeah. Chapter 43, solitary and elect. Okay, this is a little more. Jesus further enlightened his disciples, declaring that blessed are the solitary and elect, for you will find the kingdom, for you are from it, and to it you will return. Jesus said, if they ask you, where do you come from? Reply thusly, we come from the light, the place where the light came into being on its own accord and established itself, becoming manifest through the image of the elect Elohim. If they say to you, it is you, is it you? Say, we are its children, and we are the elect of the living Father. And if they ask you, what is the sign of the Father in you? Say to them, it is movement, and ultimately resting in the assurance of having found my place in unification with God and His will. Upon hearing these words, the disciples wanted to know when such a repose would come about, and when they should expect the end of the world. To this, the Master replied that what you look forward to has already come, but you do not recognize it. Okay, I'm not sure if I'm getting this as a whole at the moment. My question was, what is meant by movement in this
Oh,
context?
being an animated being, being a living soul.
It is movement means it is being
being that the individual is an animated being, that they have movement, that they're a living soul.
okay. I guess I would do a German footnote on that. And so that I don't change the text, I can translate it, movement, I can directly translate it into German.
By movement, I mean that they're a being that can move about freely wherever they want to go, but ultimately resting in the assurance of having found their place in unification with God and His will.
Okay, let's leave it like that. I have to contemplate over it again, probably. Let's find the next one. Chapter 44.
Okay.
Words of the prophets. Jesus' disciples said to him, 24 prophets spoke in Israel, and all of them have spoken through you. Then Jesus replied, it is well that you have recognized the words of truth spoken by the prophets of Israel, but you have omitted the one living in your presence, having spoken only of the dead. I do not understand the meaning of all of them have spoken through you. I guess
all of the prophets of the Old Testament, the 24 prophets in the Old Testament.
have spoken through you? What does it mean?
Yes, is that they have well, the best word I could say would be that they've spoken through Jesus. They've brought messages through Jesus to the people living in his time. Maybe like channeling, sort of like channeling, but more in the words of prophetic wisdom and prophecies and words of wisdom. That Jesus was able to communicate with the prophets of old on the other side of the veil and to speak information from them to the people in his time. Like a good example would be when he went to his hometown and he unraveled a scroll and he was guided to read the words of Isaiah from the mission of his mission on earth. And he said that this is my mission also, to proclaim the gospel and proclaim the good news and heal the sick and so forth. And then they wanted to stone him. They wanted to stone him for that, and he and the apostles had to get out of there because they thought he was being too presumptuous.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Let's leave it like that. My mind cannot follow everything, but it doesn't matter. I will go over it later again, and then I do what I can in the German version, and everything that's too difficult, I just leave it. People have to
Maybe
figure it out themselves.
maybe in the German you could say 24 prophets spoke in Israel before me. And all of these prophets have spoken through you. 24 prophets spoke in Israel, and all of them have spoken have spoken have spoken to you through me.
What?
Yeah. Yeah, I could see maybe that was like a typo. 24 prophets spoke in Israel, and all of them have spoken through me to you.
Oh, that's something else, isn't it?
Yeah, that's what it should be.
Through me to
To
you.
you.
But through us, I mean, see, the first part is Jesus' disciples. That's plural. Said to him.
Oh, yeah, Jesus' disciples, not Jesus. Okay, so it makes sense then. 24 prophets spoke in Israel, and all of them have spoken through you to us.
What?
Yeah,
Through you to us.
through you to us. In other words, Jesus spoke the prophets of old spoke through Jesus, their message through Jesus to the apostles.
Okay. Okay. Move to the next.
Okay.
On, how do you pronounce that? Circumcision?
Circumcision. Mm-hmm.
Circumcision. Chapter 45 on circumcision. Jesus' disciples asked him, is circumcision beneficial or not? Jesus answered, if there were any benefit in it, their father would beget them already circumcised from their mother. Rather, the true circumcision in spirit has become completely profitable. Circumcision of the heart in the spirit. What does this mean?
Okay. Look at in the Bible to Galatians chapter 5. And there's Paul was talking about the same thing. And he said that physical circumcision was not profitable for anything. That you don't have to be physically circumcised to be a follower of Jesus, to be a Christian. It's necessary to be circumcised to fulfill the law of the Jews of Israel, but not to be a Christian. It doesn't matter one way or the other.
And what is the true circumcision in spirit?
Circumcision of the heart and the spirit is so it's symbolic. Represented the circumcision is when you get rid of that small piece of flesh, but of the heart and of the spirit means of circumcising the world, the ways of the world of physicality, and being holy in the spirit, not in any laws of man.
Yeah, thank you. Got it.
And I would put a reference. Let me see if I put a reference in there to Galatians chapter 5, because I think maybe I did. Let's see, 45.
Yeah, 44. Yes, there is a long footnote.
Okay. Oh, yeah. All right. So that explains it very good there. Your attention is also invited to the Apostle Paul's interpretation of this passage in Romans 2:25 through 29. For circumcision barely profiteth it if you keep the law. But if thou be a breaker of the law, thy circumcision is made uncircumcision. Therefore, if the uncircumcision keep the righteousness of the law, shall not his uncircumcision be counted for circumcision, and shall not uncircumcision, which is by nature, if it fulfill the law, judge thee? Well, okay, so what it says it in more explicit terms in Galatians chapter 5 is that of course the laws of the Old Testament, that they think beside the 10 Commandments, they had 1,613 other laws, that these are not so important. What's important is kindness, long suffering, compassion, these kind of things against which there is no law, because that's the spirit of the law. And so in looking at whether circumcision is a requirement to be in the Christian church or not is ridiculous, because Jesus was talking about going beyond beyond the law and living according to higher spiritual values.
Yes, thank you. Chapter 47, taking up the cross. Here I just have a general question. The general meaning, does taking up the cross mean non-attachment or self-responsibility, or what is the symbolic, the spiritual meaning of taking up the cross?
Okay, what this is referring to is that Jesus came into the world to accomplish his mission no matter what. He and that he went up on a cross and bled, bled to death and was crucified um, as a testimony to his love for the earth, the people of earth, and his in fulfillment of his mission. So it's responsibility to realize that we're here for a purpose. So even taking up the cross means to do what's necessary to fulfill our purpose, our mission here on earth. Not that everybody would have to become a martyr or go through this, but it's it's a possibility.
Omnic always said, you don't have to be afraid of anything, because what is the worst thing that can happen to you? That is that you die. But there is nothing, it's better to die than to sell your soul or to not do what you feel that is correct. So it's important to be courageous and to live according to your heart and to your soul, no matter what. And even if the price is your physical life, so to say. And this is probably what is meant by taking up the cross, right? So he
Oh
was not a
yes,
coward. He did not try to hide or to escape.
I agree with that. That's a good. Maybe if you could find that quote and put it in there in the footnote, that would be really good.
Oh, I don't know if it is in any of the books. I just remember that she said it many times when she gave talks and workshops to people, because she wanted to explain very clearly that there's nothing to be afraid of in this world. And even if you die, you only lose your physical self, but this doesn't matter because life is eternal.
Yes, that's what Jesus said. In fact, that's what she made a paraphrase of what Jesus said. And he said, you have nothing to fear from man because all they can do is take your body, take your life, but rather um, fear that you don't lose your soul.
Exactly. I believe that, I mean, I don't know, did you do you know Ray? Or did she tell you, or are you aware that Omnic says that she was Peter in that life as Jesus' disciple? And this is,
Oh, oh yes, yes.
and she
And now that
says
you
that
mention it, I
in
think it
that
is.
life, excuse
It
me.
does say somewhere in the Bible. I don't know if Peter said it or what, but it said, "Fear not those that can kill the body, but fear those that can destroy your soul."
Yes,
And Peter in the Gnostic Gospels, it tells you what happened to Peter is that he was um, he was in Rome and he had completed his mission, and then an angel or Jesus himself stopped him on the road outside of Rome on the Appian Way and told him in a vision. He just appeared in like a column of light and told him to go back. And he said, if you don't go back and help my people who are suffering there, the saints who are suffering there, the persecution and martyrdom, and be with them and help them, I'll go back myself and be crucified a second time.
Okay, let's go to chapter 56, dinner invitations.
Okay, then Jesus related another parable, saying, a man had received visitors, and when he had prepared the dinner, he sent his servant to invite the guest. He went to the first one and said to him, my master invites you. Oh, okay. Then Jesus related another parable, saying, a man had received visitors. And when he had prepared the dinner, he sent his servants to invite the guests. He went to the first one and said to him, my master invites you.
Yes, I had a problem with the sequence here. I think we have made, I don't know if I can recall, my first visitors received, then dinner prepared.
Oh, okay. Let me see the context of the rest
Yes.
of it and see. Okay, and he went to the first head. He said, I have claims against some merchants. They are coming this evening. I must go and give them. Okay. Okay. Um, a man um, was prepared to receive visitors. Would that make sense?
Well, let's look at it again. It says, so according to these sentences, it says somebody, so there are already visitors. I already have visitors. And then I prepare the dinner, and then I send my servant to invite the guests. So it doesn't, for me, it doesn't make sense. I mean, the visitors and the guests aren't this, isn't this the same?
Oh, okay. So So a man had received visitors, and when he had prepared the dinner, um, there was more than enough to invite more guests. That would make sense. And he went to the first one and said, my master invites you.
Ah, really? Is that really what happened? Is this
Yeah, because it's he he's telling this story that was also related in the Bible, in the four gospels. Similarly. Let me see what. Oh, okay. For um, for a parallel, no, dinner invitations. Oh, 55. For a parallel version, see Luke chapter 14, verse 15 through 24. Those that are preoccupied with financial and other concerns of this world will miss out on partaking the celestial glories which will be passed on to others. When Dante Alighieri's beloved, okay, then, all right. Okay, so what this is saying is that there was a dinner that people were invited to, and the original guest did not show up. So therefore, an invitation went out to share that dinner with others.
well, then the word received is not correct, isn't it? I mean, received, doesn't this mean the visitors are already there?
A man had received visitors. Yeah, it should be changed to clarify that a man had been prepared to receive invited guests that failed to show up, and some failed to show up. And when he prepared the dinner, he sent his servants to invite other guests.
Is that really what this shall say? Yes.
Um, yeah, what is what was happening, because when you read Luke 14, verse 15 through 24, it's explaining that the meal and the party and the celebration was offered to others because the original invitees didn't show up.
Well, then why is it so wrong then? I mean, it sounds so. I mean, a man had received visitors. That would mean he wanted to receive certain visitors, and these didn't show up. And then he had already the dinner prepared, and so
Right,
he
he
sent.
received, so it's picking it up in kind of the middle or the end of it.
Mm.
Um, and you're right, it should actually show the sequence by chronological order. So he received the visitors, and then it explains that who they were because he sent his servant to invite the guests, but it doesn't explain um, the first part of how this happened, because he sent the first one and said to him, "My master invites you." So then it starts to where that he invites them and they couldn't show up. They all had excuses. So it should be um, we should say a man prepared a dinner and sent his a man prepared a dinner and sent his servant to invite the guests. So he went to the first one and said, "My master invites you." And then he
And
said, "I have claims against some merchants. They are coming this evening. I must go and give them my orders. I ask to be excused from the dinner." So that's what the one of the guests invited said. He went to another and said to him, "My master has invited you." And he said to him, "I have just bought a house and required I shall not have any spare time." Still he went to another and said to him, "My master invites you." And then he said to him, "My friend is going to get married and I am to prepare the banquet. I shall not be able to come," and asked to be excused. And yet he went to another and said, "My master invites you." But this last one had an excuse not to attend. At this, the servant returned and said to his master, "Those whom you invited to the dinner have asked to be excused." The master said to his servant, "Go outside to the streets and bring back those whom you happen to meet, so that they may dine. I tell you this, businessmen and merchants will not enter the places of my Father." Okay. So
well,
what's
Ray,
happening here is,
I totally get this, but it doesn't. The thing is that it is not. It doesn't really make logical sense because when you when I'm preparing a dinner, I already know that my guests accepted my invitation. And when I'm preparing a dinner and I send my servant out to invite these guests, and these are really businessmen and these are really busy with their projects and with their families, I can't expect them to say, "Of course, now I'm coming." This the story. I mean, I understand the message or the message of the story, but it doesn't make sense the way it's put, because you can't expect busy people to just let everything stand, leave everything just the way it is to run to a dinner that you're invited to. You know what I mean?
oh yeah, yeah, and it's out of chronological order here, so um, it actually needs to be reset in the beginning so that the context is understood. So that let's say Then Jesus related another parable, saying, um, a man had um, 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 a man had prepared a dinner, or a man prepared a dinner. Um, yeah, I see what I see what you're saying. So this needs to be rewritten in the proper chronological
I
context.
mean, the normal sequence would be I want to invite people and then I prepare my dinner. And first of all, I need their yes, you know. And if they say no, then I don't I mean, what?
Okay, a man prepared a dinner, or a man was a a man was preparing a dinner and sent his servants to invite the guests. A man a man wanted to prepare a dinner and invite and sent his servant to invite the guests.
Yeah, this is a big difference if you
Yeah,
say
I would say,
he wanted to or he already did.
yeah, he wanted to. So let's change it in the English one and the German one to just say a man wanted to prepare a dinner for his business associates and and sent his servant to invite them um, to the and sent his servants to invite them.
Yeah, that makes
Okay.
sense. And then they say,
Yeah.
no, no, I'm busy, I'm busy, I'm busy.
Yeah. Let's change it to that because it makes sense in the chronological context. So it was the merchants and it was the merchants and his business associates.
But on the other hand, then again, there is another problem because when we say he wanted to prepare dinner and all his business associates say that they can't come because they're too busy, then he has no dinner and then he cannot invite all these other people who are walking on the street.
Well, it could be that he already purchased all the food and it would go bad, if he didn't go ahead on the appointed day and have the function. So, so he turned around and invited others instead.
Then finally it makes sense, yes, if we put it like that. But
Yeah, yeah, let's put it in that context.
but how are we doing this now? I mean, do you want to edit it? Do you want to edit it in the or shall I don't know if I can. I don't dare
Oh, okay,
really.
let's do it now because it makes sense.
Okay, we do
Mm,
it in the English or where?
Yeah, yeah, let's do it in the English first, and then that it's um that
Okay,
it's good enough that it can be translated in
all
German.
right.
And it
Okay, I have it here. Then Jesus related another parable. A man wanted to prepare dinner for
I-
his business, his for visit.
it,
A man
his business associates.
wanted to prepare a dinner or just dinner
I let's say prepare a feast for his business associates
for his business associates and sent his servant to invite them.
and sent his servant to invite them, right?
Okay.
Okay, and then so then we'll leave it like it is until the end, and then where it gets to uh, and then at this the servant returned, and this is like the third sentence from the bottom. At this the servant returned and said to his master, "Those whom you invited to the dinner have asked to be excused." Then the master said to his servant that um, since the food so we should explain there somehow. So the master said to his servant, "Go outside to the streets and bring back those whom you happen to meet, so they may dine. Um, so they may dine. I tell you this business." Okay. I don't know if we really need to do anything else than that, because it would be just, wouldn't it be understood that the food, or should we put that in the footnote? That the
Well,
if
let's not use the word feast instead of dinner. I would stay with I would remain dinner. A man wanted to prepare a dinner.
yeah,
His business associates and his sent his servants to invite them, and then they are all not coming. No, it's okay. I feel we can leave it like that, because we can, as a reader, can understand, okay, obviously then these are not coming, but he's preparing then the dinner for the other ones that are invited from the streets, that are coming from
right.
the streets.
Oh yeah, because the others rebuffed him.
Yes. No, this is okay. We can leave it like, I mean, if this is okay, I mean, we're changing
Yeah,
our.
yeah, that's okay. Because
Okay.
yeah, that needed to be clarified.
All right. Okay. Wonderful. Then
That was good.
that was good. Thank you, Ray. Now we are through with my gospel, with my Thomas questions. So the next questions are coming from the Acts of Thomas. Chapter 2. Arrangements for the journey. The master tarried with us through the night, and on
Uh-huh.
the following day it happened that a merchant named Aban, who had come from India, was present in the city, being dispatched there by Gundaphorus, a king of that far country. As Jesus and I were walking in the market at noon, the master caught sight of Aban, immediately identifying him as Indian by his distinctive clothing, walked over to him and asked him in the language of the Indians, "Do you wish to contract the services of a carpenter?" He replied, "Yes, I certainly do. My king Gundaphorus sent me here to bring a carpenter to him, to do some work in the royal court." Then Jesus said, "That is good, for I would like you to consider contracting with me for my brother Judas Thomas' service, insofar as I can understand your tongue and we can reach an equitable agreement. My question is about the language, tongue, Jesus, and later Thomas. How does Thomas communicate with the king in India? I mean, I guess the question is quite understandable, because we are now assuming, or the story is that Jesus sent Thomas to India. This is the whole thing, right? So
Yes.
this is the question. Above the questions is how was he able to speak this language? I mean, it says here, walked over to him. Is it Thomas who is talking there?
Jesus. It's Jesus.
Jesus in India?
Yeah, yeah, Jesus walked over to Aben um, because he had been in India before and he knew the language of the Indians. So uh, he um, had assigned Thomas, his brother, to go to India as an apostle on his mission. And so he needed something so that Thomas could do to support him while he was in India.
But wait a minute.
Oh, I will be right back. I've got to. I'll be right back. One moment. For your patience.
Yeah, of course. Thank you.
Yeah, I had
Ray,
to.
I just reread it again, so I got it. It is that the Indian mediator of this Indian guy was in where Jesus and Thomas were. Was it in Israel where they were at this point?
Yes,
Yes.
that's right on the caravan route.
Yes, and Jesus already knew the language. Of course, the reader who is not completely into the whole story doesn't really understand this right away, why Jesus was able to speak that language, because it's not in the book that Jesus was in India before, was it?
Oh, yes. I think it might say something in here about there's when Jesus was what was a young boy later there's 18 years that are missing from when Jesus was 12 until he was 30 years old. Uh, and where he went during that time was to India. And I think it's mentioned somewhere in here. Um, Maybe in the Gospel of the Young Jesus, but but it was generally understood at the time by the people that were reading this originally that Jesus had been to India.
Okay, well then this is clear then that he could speak the language, but Thomas, of course, did not speak the language.
No, so he
And
had.
that was actually my question. How does Thomas all of a sudden is able to communicate with the king in India and with all these Indian people? He can't learn the language in a few days or so.
No, but he as he remained with Anas, who could speak Aramaic uh, and
Okay.
could speak other languages as a merchant along the
So
Car route.
he was pretty fast learning it. So because he was traveling with him and all this.
Yes, so he would
Okay,
until Thomas could pick up on the language, he would interpret for him.
I see. Okay, of course, you have to be a little creative, but this is fine. It's okay. Let's go to chapter 6.
Oh, okay.
Song of Thomas. Humbled by the attention of the flute girl, my eyes were fixed upon the ground when one of the cup-bearers stretched forth his hand and struck me. Raising my eyes, I looked upon the face of the man who struck me, and said, "My God will forgive you in the world to come, for this in the world to come, but in this world he will manifest his wonders, and I shall soon see that very hand that struck me dragged along the street by dogs." And I remember pretty well this paragraph, and I was really completely startled and not really understanding why the hell did he struck him at all? Why struck him without any reason, or is just touch meant? Then why such a curse after an innocent touch? Meaning of song hard to understand in German. Okay, this is something else, but the struck in this context is
Oh, yeah, it doesn't say the motivations there. But perhaps, he may have been had something against Thomas for being a Hebrew, or perhaps he was interested in the flute girl himself. Um, and then, but maybe a footnote would be appropriate, saying about the motivations are um, are not known. But let me see if I can pull the motivation out of it.
Well, it would already help if it would just say and struck me for seemingly no reason or for no obvious reason. Because the curse, we know the dragging along the street by dogs, this is really hard. I was just.
I think, oh, I think like there's a clue in the end of chapter 5 because she stood, this is the flute girl, stood over my head for a long time, and she singled me out for her attentions, being that this flute girl was a Hebrew by race, the same as Thomas.
Mm.
So I think that this guy, uh, that in a footnote to reference the last verse in chapter 5, that perhaps the motivation of the man who struck Thomas was the um, prolonged attention that the flute girl gave to Thomas, and that perhaps it could have been jealousy. So we're reading something in there, but it does make sense given the last sentence in chapter 5.
All right. Okay. Well, then just let's leave it like that, and we just have to accept it. Um, Meaning of song hard to understand in German. Yes, that's how it is. We can't discuss that because I just have to do my best to translate it to German, but it's not going to be perfect. I know that because when I don't
Oh yeah,
understand it.
it's a song like a psalm
Yeah.
in the Hebrew tradition, like of the Old Testament. So
Yeah.
it's it doesn't make sense except in a cultural context of you know, a knowledge of Hebrew and everything. So yeah, I would just leave it.
Okay.
You know, do the best with you can that you can. Uh, I had difficulty with that in uh, providing a coherent thing in English.
I see. Okay. Um, Next chapter 93, Hidden Treasure.
Okay.
Jesus said, the kingdom resembles a man who possessed a hidden treasure in his field without being aware of it. Upon his death, he bequeathed the field to his son. The son also did not know about the hidden treasure. After assuming ownership of the field, the son sold it. The purchaser of the field then started to plow it and discovered the treasure. Hence, he began to lend out money at interest to whomever he wished, thus multiplying his riches. And my question was, he wished to, or whoever wished to
Uh,
borrow money.
oh yeah, yeah. To whomever he wished would be whomever he wished. That would be a pronoun that would be in place of. But I could see where we'd need to be more specific. Replace whomever as a pronoun with to those whom he trusted would repay. Uh, uh, to those whom he trusted, thus multiplying his riches. To those
Um,
he trusted,
at interest to those.
whom he trusted.
Okay, then this sentence would be the purchaser of the field then started to plow it and discovered the treasure. Hence, he began to lend out money at interest to those whom he trusted, thus multiplying his riches.
Right. Yeah, that makes sense.
That makes sense. Yeah, that was a little bit easier, but thank you.
Uh, yeah, I could see that the in English this is confusing to Idalis too. That in English we use all of these pronouns and just expecting Spanish speakers or people of other languages to know what the pronoun represents, what it carries over from, but it's not always that apparent.
No. Okay, chapter 95, Fate of the Enlightened. When speaking of the end of life in the material world, the master explained, at that time, the heavens and the earth will roll up as a scroll in your presence. And from your dying material body will emerge your indestructible spirit. Clearly, Jesus was teaching us that the world and all that is in it can never be worthy enough for the one who has attained enlightenment, touching, as it were, the light of Christ that dwells in every human heart.
Oh, okay. Like in the Bible, it says that heaven and earth, or the earth will pass away, but the love of God and the light of, Christ endures forever. So it's how would we say this though? Clearly, Jesus was teaching us that the end of the material world. Yeah, let's put material world in front of world, or material in front of world.
Well, I actually, at the moment, I'm not sure what I did not understand because it seems to be quite clear. I think we can simply probably just leave it like that. I can't recall my problem at the moment.
Oh,
I think it's let's just leave it like that. That's fine. Let's check.
okay.
Maybe touching, as it were, the light of Christ that dwells in every human heart. But I think I just have to think about it deeper, contemplate over it. I think it's pretty clear. That's fine. Let's go to the next chapter 26. Why do I have 26 now? Okay, 26 doesn't
Okay.
seem.
Or was it 96? Or is it 26?
I think
Oh, yeah, it's 26.
I
Uh-huh.
think 93 and 95 were wrong, or what? It doesn't matter. 26 is three sources of iniquity.
Okay. I, Judas Thomas, in fulfillment of my calling as an apostle of the Lord Jesus Christ, cease not to preach unto all who are willing to hear me. You men and women, boys and girls, young men and maidens, strong men and aged, whether bond or free, abstain from intercourse outside the bonds of marriage and covetousness and gluttony. For it is from these three that all manner of iniquity cometh about. For intercourse with other than one's spouse lands and minds, and the eyes of the soul, it is an impediment to the life of the body, turning one's whole being in sickness, and greed puts soul in fear and shame. Being within the body, it seizes upon the goods of others and causes that soul to remain under fear until that one brings about a restoration of others' goods to their owners. Okay. And you say gluttony, diversing thoughts. Okay. And
Um,
so the question here was, oh, the eyes of the soul.
um,
Uh,
let me check again. What was my question? In Quidditch.
I see you put an asterisk by eyes of the soul. That's a metaphorical phrase.
I think my question or my for it is from these three: intercourse outside the bonds of marriage, and what is let me just check again. What is covet? Covetousness.
Covetousness is wanting other people's property,
I
being
see.
jealous of other people's property, their cars, their house, their bank accounts, of things of the world, material, coveting after material things. And then gluttony would be overeating.
Yes, I believe it will come later again. I think what is coming, what is what I don't really understand, generally it will come later again in other chapters, is the part of the intercourse outside the bonds of marriage, that this is such a crime or such a bad thing that it even darkens the eyes of the soul, or intercourse with other than one's spouse blinds the mind and darkens the eyes of the soul. I guess this is a general question that I absolutely don't understand why it is such a crime or such a sin to be with others or to be interested in others when a marriage is not the right marriage. I mean, you know what natural couples are, and we can assume that probably in biblical times and even nowadays, not very many real, absolutely true, loving, natural couples are together. So it is quite human and natural to not be completely in bliss and satisfied, maybe sometimes with the own partner. And so then why is it such a sin or even a crime that is darkening the eyes of the soul when you are intimate or interested in others outside of your marriage?
Well, there's an explanation that's given by Paul and others for for exceptions to these kind of things, and remaining in a marriage or not remaining in a marriage and so forth, that are explained later, but as a general rule, talking about this condition.
Isn't that a little bit outdated? I mean, seriously, isn't that a little bit hard? And
Oh no, no.
no?
I mean, if one were to, just saying it's an impediment to the life of the body, um, to, um, but there are circumstances where staying in a marriage might not be advantageous, and it's discussed
Mhm.
later. But for the most part, it would be, it would be a breaking of trust, and you wouldn't want to uh, get that kind of karma. Wouldn't it be better if a marriage wasn't suitable to discuss it and be separated or divorced rather than go behind somebody's back?
Yes. Okay. Let's leave it like that for the moment. That's okay. I get it. I get it. And chapter 30, Serpent Race. Knowing somewhat of the other world spoken of by my brother, or there's a typo, this is an M, a V, it's a my brother, and wishing to confirm my suspicions, I inquired of the serpent being, tell me of what seed and of what race thou art. And he said unto me, I am a reptile of the reptile nature. You associate with the constellation of Orion, a noxious son of the noxious father in the tradition of Nimrod, the mighty hunter, of him that heard and I don't know, I didn't put any questions, so we just have to skip that, I guess. I don't know what my
Oh,
problem
okay.
was.
Maybe you could put a footnote in there, and unless I already did, that um, this is in reference to a saurian being with the power to uh, with the power of a metamorph to assume any form, like Paul described in the gospel that Satan can even transform himself into an angel of light. So we're looking at a being that's that has the power to transform his appearance.
Is that part of the original Gospels, or is that just in yours?
Yeah, it's in the Paul talks about it. He said that Satan can appear as anything he wants, even an angel of light.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, let's go to the next chapter 39, Transmigration of the Soul. Following the death of the material body and based upon one's actions carried out in their prior life, whether for good or evil, a new body may be assumed, being either animal, human, or angelic, spiritual. I mean, I can understand an animal and a human body, but what is an angelic or a spiritual body in this
Okay.
context?
Following the death of the material body and based upon one's actions, whether good or evil. Oh, so oh, let me answer this phone here real quick.
Yeah.
And I'll explain that because it's in 1 Corinthians chapter 15. Oh, hold on. Hey, Mike, I am doing. Okay. Yes. Hello.
Hello.
Yes, I'm here. That is that that there are bodies, telestial bodies, terrestrial, and bodies celestial. In 1 Corinthians 15. And so the celestial are the spirit bodies or what we might refer to as angelic beings, angelic bodies.
Aren't we here in the physical all either human or animal bodies? I mean, aren't the angelic or spiritual bodies not in the other realms?
We're right now, well, there are human bodies and then angelic bodies. So we could be aspects of a higher spiritual body as human. But like in evolution, there's an order of things in evolution from the lowest to the highest is basically what that's saying.
Okay.
But if it's possible to go the other way, to go back, in other words, he's saying that it's possible that if you needed to relearn a lesson or something, you could actually go back to an animal state.
I thought this is not possible. I thought we always evolve higher and don't go back.
Oh, I think it's possible, definitely possible. Oh, I see it right here. Following the death of the material body and based upon one's actions carried out in their prior life, whether for good or evil, a new body may be assumed. So it's possible to go back. And so this cult that was apparently once upon a time a human had redeemed himself by transcending those desires which trapped him in an animal body, and he is now ready to go on and regain a human form. There is an order to the process of reincarnation, this cycle of death and rebirth, and by our actions carried out in the material world, we determine the conditions of our subsequent birth. Okay, so I don't know. I don't think it needs to be changed.
No, it doesn't need to be changed. A colt, is it a male donkey?
A colt is yeah, I think a colt is a male, right?
Yes,
A mare would be a female.
but a colt is a donkey, isn't it?
Yes, uh-huh. That's right.
Okay, just one quick question because we still have a couple of pages. Shall we do a part two or shall we? I think we can't go through all of it today, right? It's too much.
Yeah, we could go through all of it.
Really?
Oh, how many pages to go?
Well,
There's quite a few, huh?
4, 5.
Okay, let's see how many we could do.
All right.
Do you have the time or
The time is okay. If you
oh,
have
okay.
time, is Idalis working?
Yeah, she's working until 3 o'clock. So I need to go about 2.
That is in 1.5 hours.
Yes.
Okay, let's go look at chapter 56. King Misdeus, captain. Now it chanced that there was a wedding in our city, and they that made the marriage feast were well beloved of me. They came in, therefore, and bade me to it, bidding also my life and my wife and our daughter. Forasmuch then as they were my good friends, I could not refuse. I sent her, therefore, though she desired not to go. And with them I sent also many servants. Therefore they departed, both she and our daughter, decked with many ornaments. I did not understand in this context why he did not go with his wife and with his daughter. Why did he send his daughter and his wife alone? It's not clear.
Oh, it said and bade me to it. In other words, invited him to it, bidding also my wife and our daughter. So,
Exactly. They were all the three of them were invited. And it does not
uh-huh.
say why he is sending off just his wife and the daughter and he stayed at home.
Oh, for as much as they were my good friends, I could not refuse. I sent her, therefore, though she desired not to go, and with them I sent also many servants. So they apparently went with him.
No, they went alone because after that they had trouble. And I think this is what's coming. Exactly. They were assaulted. They were really in heavy trouble and they were alone.
Oh yeah, let me see that and see what's going on there. Okay. I have heard of thee that you take no, but you, okay, let's see. Therefore they departed. This is 56. Oh, okay, the captain. And when it was evening and the time was come to depart from the wedding, I sent lamps and torches to meet them. decide when she should come. And oh, okay. And I said, and as I stood in wait, I heard oh, okay. Yeah, so that you're right. That has to be clarified there. Now it chanced that there was a wedding in our city, and they made the marriage feast. And they that made the marriage feast were well beloved of me. They came in therefore and bade me to it, bidding also my wife and our daughter. Um, um, for as for as much as they were my good friends, um, uh, yeah, it should say I felt that I could not refuse. Um, or uh,
Well, we have no explanation why he did not accompany
right.
them.
So he's a captain. So for as much as they were my good friends, I felt that I could not refuse. Um, then semicolon. Uh, however, um, having having military duties, I sent her therefore, though she desired not to go. Yeah, okay. So after refuse, it should be a colon. However, being beset with military duties, I sent her therefore, though she desired not to go. So for as much then as they were my good friends, comma, I felt I could not refuse. Semicolon. However, being beset with military duties, comma, I sent her therefore.
Being beset.
Uh-huh. Being beset with military duties, or however, being obligated with military duties.
Okay, if we want to put it like that, at least we can easier accept it that he did not, that he sent his wife and his daughter.
Right, because being in the military myself and a veteran, I know that that's exactly what happened, because there was many times when I would have liked to have gone with things with my wife and kids, but I couldn't do it because I had to be on watch or some other duty.
Okay, I felt I could not refuse. Um, However, being obligated with military duties, I sent her therefore, and then it goes on.
Right.
Okay, okay, thank you. Then let's go to chapter 57 because they really went into trouble, you know, wife and
Yes.
daughter assaulted. And the same hour, the women fell down, gnashing their teeth and beating their heads upon the earth. And seeing this, we came to tell you of it. I mean, this sounds really, my question was, is that symbolic? Gnashing their teeth and beating their heads upon the earth? I mean, who does that? That's insane.
Uh, that may have been like a cultural thing of the Middle East. You know, they were in a quandary. They didn't know what to do following this horrific event.
Okay, okay, just accepted. I just accepted. All right. Let's go to 64 animals called to service. Glorious art thou, God of truth, and Lord of all natures, for thou didst will with thy will, and make all thy works, and finish all thy creatures, and bring them to the rule of their nature, and lay upon them all thy fear, that they might be subject to thy command. My goodness. Fear, is there another meaning of fear? It's not a negative fear, right? So how to explain this term? What did I mean here?
Oh, okay. Let's say, because you know how it says throughout the Old Testament about the um, uh, fear of God is the beginning of knowledge. So we're talking about fear is like another word for awe or deep respect. So we could generally paraphrase that and still maintain the context and continuity of that by and lay upon them a knowledge or a gnosis, a knowledge that they might be subject to thy command, or a sure knowledge, and lay upon them all a sure knowledge that they might be subject to thy command.
And lay upon them a sure knowledge.
And lay upon them all a sure knowledge that they might be subject to thy command.
All a sure knowledge. Yeah, thank you. That helps because fear is, of course.
Yeah, it's so like taking it in people that are familiar with the King James version of the Bible in English would know what it's talking about. But for an audience in another country, they would need to have a different translation for it.
And there was another part in the same chapter, and every one of them came and pressed to be yoked. There were then four stronger than the rest, which also were yoked. Yes, I stumbled over that because it was like all these animals or all these colts or donkeys were kind of eager, happy to be yoked and to go into the service. But there were four stronger than the rest. That's fine. But how can the rest also be yoked? I mean, if there's only four places before a chariot and not more, how can all the other donkeys also be yoked all of a sudden?
Oh, okay. Yeah, let's see. Uh, so that is 64, right?
Yeah.
64.
The colts. It's the last paragraph, and every one of them came and pressed to be yoked. That was really touching. It really touched me when I read that because they were all so eager in helping. I think the other ones were tired and they could not uh, move on anymore. And then this was a it's a very powerful part.
So in other words, they were volunteering,
Yeah.
even though they wouldn't all be needed for
Yes, exactly. So how can then all of them be yoked if only there is just four seats or four places?
Oh, okay. It says, and every one of them came and pressed to be yoked. and then there were four stronger than the rest, which also were yoked. Okay. And everyone pressed to be yoked. That means that they requested to be, or they volunteered to be, right?
I understand that. I just don't understand which also were yoked.
Oh, okay. And then we could just say, uh, and the, and there were and there were after yoked, after it has the colon, and and put an and there were then uh four stronger than the rest, which were also yoked, or that were yoked. And there were four stronger than the rest that were yoked. And the rest, some went before and some followed. And okay. So there were apparently four that were yoked. So I would just say after the yoked, um, there there were then four stronger than the rest, which were yoked.
Without the also.
Yeah, that were yoked. Just that were which were yoked.
Yeah. Okay, thank you. That makes sense. It's just the also that was just too much.
Oh, okay, yeah, that's a good. I'm glad you caught that.
Yeah. And then 65 at the captain's door, and he said to me, Thou thyself knows that we stand before the doors, and these which by thy commandment are some which thee know it better than I. Oh my God. Oh,
Okay, and he said to me, Thou thyself knows that we stand before the doors, and these which by thy commandment are come with thee know it better than I. Hmm. Or better than myself. Did we say that? Or 65.
well, I have to read the whole thing, otherwise I don't get it.
Okay, now as I, the captain, the driver, went on, the wild asses drew the chariot quietly and evenly, lest they should disturb us in some way. And when they came near the city gate, they turned aside and stood still before the doors of the captain's house. The captain said, It's not possible for me to relate what hath happened, but when I complete my adventure, I will tell it. The whole city, therefore, came to see the wild asses under the yoke, and they had heard also the report of the apostle coming to visit them. Therefore I asked the captain, Where is thy dwelling, and whither didst thou bring us? And he said to me, Thou thyself knows that we stand before the doors, and these which by thy commandment are come with thee know it better than I. Okay.
But he knows where he lives, doesn't he? I mean, this, I think he asked, Where is your dwelling? Where do you live? And where are you? And he said,
Thou thyself knows that we stand before the doors. So he's like saying, well, you know where you are. And and those that and those which you commanded to come with thee know it better than I. It's kind of like
Is it referring to the donkeys, to the asses?
yeah,
They
that
know it better. Or
it's we could just say and and the, he could just say, Thou and all those with thee know full well where we are, or something like that. Thou and those with thee that we stand before the doors. Period.
Period, and just skip the rest. I mean, at least for the German version.
Uh, that that we stand before the doors of my home, or something like that. Thou and those with thee know full well that you stand before the doors of my home.
Okay. Well, I check it again. We leave it in English the way it is, and for the German, I will check it again so that I understand it.
Oh,
Okay.
okay.
Okay. Chapter 76.
Okay. 76. Okay.
Now it came to pass that a certain woman, the wife of Charisius, that was next unto the king, whose name was Mygdonia, came to see, and behold, the new name and the new God who was being proclaimed, and the new apostle who had come to visit their country. I did not understand the phrase, the term new name.
Oh, uh,
The new God, I understand, and the new apostle, that's Thomas. That's also fine. But what is the new name?
hmm,
Hmm.
that would be the new God and his name, right?
Yeah, but what is the name of the God? I mean, the God
Oh,
is just
yeah,
God.
that would be uh, like referring to Jesus, right? Now it came to pass that a certain woman, the wife of Charisius, that was next unto the king, whose name was Mygdonia, came to see and behold um, the new name and the new God who is being proclaimed. That would be Jesus who is being proclaimed. Oh, the new God and his name.
But Jesus is not God.
Well, he's referring there to like a God, right? The the new God who is being proclaimed in the land. Now, now it came to pass that a certain woman, the wife of Charisius, that was next unto the king, whose name was Mygdonia, came to see and behold um, the uh, the new God and his name, comma, and his name, who was being proclaimed, and the new apostle who had come to visit their country. So they're perceiving him as a new God, because don't forget that in India, the Hindus had literally like 800 different gods. So far as they were concerned, this was another one.
And you mean with name is Jesus meant here?
Yes, uh-huh. So I think it makes sense to just say, came to see and behold the new God, comma, and his name, comma, the capital H for his, who is being proclaimed, and the comma, and the new apostle who had come to visit their country.
But it's still a little confusing because we never say that Jesus is equals the God. We say that Jesus is the Son of God, isn't he?
Right. But these people had never, they're gaining a knowledge of him, and they, so far as they know, it's just a new God.
Okay, came to see and behold the new God and his name.
Came to, came to find, let's say, let's put it this way so that it makes sense. Now it came to pass that a certain woman, the wife of Charisius, that was next unto the king, whose name was Mcdonia, came to discover the came to find out more about the new God who is being proclaimed,
Yeah.
and the new apostle who had come to visit their country.
The new God who was being proclaimed.
Uh-huh. Came to find out more about the new God who was being proclaimed, and the new apostle who had come to visit their country.
Okay, then we just delete name.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because when they find out about the new God, they'll find out it's Jesus, the Son of God, and more information.
All right.
So that's all implied. That's all implied there.
Okay. Okay. Chapter 78, Shun evil, strive for holiness. After the multitude had seated themselves round about me, I began my sermon. Abstain, therefore, first from adultery, for this is the beginning of all evils. Again, my question, why exactly is adultery the beginning of all evils? My goodness, this seems to be so exaggerated and outdated.
Abstain therefore first from adultery. I think it has to do with um, it's not when it's something adulterous, it's being deceptive about it.
I see.
It's not so much the the relations, but the deception behind it. Covering up something and then having to make up stories and so forth, and problems with children and the family and all the other stuff that comes with it.
Oh, this makes such a big difference, Ray? Because when we just talk about adultery in the old sense, it seems to be it's such a sin to betray your husband, but there's more to it. It's about lying, it's about deceiving, it's about making up stories. This is what I understand, that this is really shit. But
Oh yeah. So it's the beginning of all evils because it doesn't stop there.
of course, on the other hand, nobody goes to be divorced, especially when you have children and everything. And let's assume your wife doesn't want to sleep with you anymore because she's now having one child after the other. So what's your chance if you still want to enjoy sexuality? So what should you be honest? You know
Yeah,
that
I
this
think
is
I think the
always a problem.
honesty is very important. That things should be worked out.
Nobody does that. I mean, maybe
No,
nowadays 1% the most, but normally,
maybe they should though. if it's if it's you know causing all these problems,
well, this is heavy, heavy stuff because this is really
and
causing problems.
if um if it's that big of a problem, the husband should take care of the children if he's going his way and still be on good terms. Something should be worked out. It shouldn't be hiding in shadows and this kind of thing. So I think
I,
that's what he's talking about.
and this is so important. We should probably make a podcast just about that subject because this is really goes so deep, because this is where it all starts, that people just don't accept each other unconditionally. People just don't love each other and accept their needs, and they don't dare to be honest. They feel the
They're
other is
not
my
honest.
possession.
They don't respect the frailty and humanity of their partner.
Yeah.
They don't understand, but they should make an effort.
Especially because sexuality is so bound to possession. People believe that if my husband has sex with another woman, that they take it too personal, but it's in the end, it's just a physical thing, unless it is love. And when it's love, there's nothing wrong with being divorced or with really going that way. When you meet your natural partner, although you already are married and you already have 3 children, you still have to be honest and say, let's I,
Yeah.
I want to change my life. I still love you and I still support you and the kids and everything. And nobody does that. This is really causing for thousands of years problems, I believe, this whole stuff.
Yes, just the lack of honesty. The honesty is important. You know, you could be forgiven um, adultery, and things could work out, and everybody would be happier if people were honest about it.
Yeah. I think I believe I get it. What exactly is meant with chief city of all evils? I think the terminal in a little further is you see blah blah blah, and from all foul deeds, especially them of the body, whereby cometh eternal condemnation. Of course, that's really hard stuff, eternal condemnation and stuff. For this is the chief city of all evils. We are still talking about, I think, adultery or something. Or what is it exactly? What is the chief city of all evils here? But
Oh,
the term,
okay.
I couldn't find a translation for that.
And so for this is the chief city of all evils, and likewise it bringeth them that hold their heads high into tyranny. For this is the chief fortress, maybe, or the chief abode, castle of all evils.
What is chief? Is it main? Is it the major?
The principal abode of all evils.
Abode, Abode.
Abode, or the chief dwelling place, or the main dwelling place of all evils. For this is where, for this is where all evils reside. For
The
this is
root.
where all evils reside. Colon or semicolon. And likewise, it bringeth them that hold their heads high in haughtiness into tyranny. Okay.
Well, that's heavy stuff here.
Oh yeah, this is deep. This is deep stuff.
Okay,
You
I
know,
have to figure it
like
out in German.
when you look at Buddha Siddhartha, the Buddha,
Yeah.
um, he lived in the lap of luxury, and he wanted to see what the world was like, but he left his wife and his children, but he explained to them what he was doing, that he was going on a spiritual quest, and he provided for them in the household of his father. You know, speaking of family obligations and things. So he didn't just leave people wondering what's what's going on, and just leave them adrift. So, and it's this I was just seeing that chapter 78, strive for holiness. So he went on this quest, but he wasn't deceptive about it.
Yeah, that goes really deep because I'm at the same time at the moment thinking of these I mean often, not always, but often it's the man who betrays the woman and then they have a female lover or even more. And these women often, not always, but often hope that they would eventually get this man. And this is never happening. Usually they don't break their marriages. Usually they just want to have sex. They just want to have lovers. They just want to have affairs, which is in a way understandable because of all this distorted structures and all these systems and everything. But the women, these lovers, or these you know, the women, they are bound, they bind each others then to this man, although he is already taken and he is already married. And usually, unless it's real love and unless it's a natural couple thing, they don't leave their wives usually. So it's always a disaster, and it's causing a lot of pain for all who are in this scenario, who are
Oh
somehow.
yeah, the women and the children are hurt. Their self-esteem is obliterated,
Yeah.
and that's a lot of karma for that guy. But imagine if that if he was honest uh, with uh, with his wife and provided for his children, then it wouldn't be so bad.
Well, unless the woman doesn't understand it and accept it. I know that many men are also eventually then the victims, because then they, you know, because these women believe, oh, this is my husband, he belongs to me, so I will cause hell for him if he betrays me, if he leaves me, if he does this and that, and if he doesn't love me the way I ask him or I require him to love me. So there's hell in all parts involved for all.
Yeah, it's a very touchy situation, and I think that they actually that Thomas actually discussed it in one of these parts in here. I forget which one.
It's coming. I know. I mean, I don't know if it is here in my notes, but I know what you mean. There is this problem where she is touched by Thomas and by Jesus and wakes up, and her husband wants to keep her, and she doesn't want to stay with him because she decided to go the Thomas or the Jesus way. And then, but it's maybe it's coming.
Yeah.
Oh, I had some more notes here. I would love to understand this deeper. I mean, many people have been forced to marry someone they did not love, and marriage has not been between natural couples or even soulmates or twin flames. And people did fall in love with someone else and or did not know what to do with their lust or wanted to have different experiences with others. However, saying it's evil makes guilt feelings without understanding what is really the evil in this. This was my note.
Oh yeah. And there's circumstances where you know, like where there's abuse or things, and it's talked about in the Bible and other places where divorce is perfectly allowed.
Okay, let's leave it like that for that. I feel it's a, you know what, Ray? I feel it's a big and a very important subject, especially to bring this, to update this, because what I feel is that unconditional love is the healing element in all of this. And but anyway, I don't want to go there. I feel it's just in a very important partnership and love and all this kind of stuff. It's an important subject, especially since we are now coming into an area, into an age of raising our consciousness and our frequency and
Oh
opening the
yes.
hearts.
In a higher state of consciousness, in a greater awareness, we come to an understanding that love doesn't have fences built around it. It's not a limiting. There's nothing to limit it, and that um, love in a human soul can be a lot more expansive than we kind of trap it in a in a in a human context versus a spiritual context.
That's what I mean. That's why it's so important to discuss that.
Yes, but we have to live in the material world with with human beings who aren't necessarily at that level.
No,
So
but if we want to evolve as a species and raise our awareness and bring more life and love and truth to the world and light, we have to work ourselves through our jealousies and expectations and possessive thinking and all these old structural behaviors and cultural and societal rules and everything, because this is what binds people and what keeps them encaged in this trap of conditioned love and system thinking.
oh yeah, yeah, I can see that because even if people wanted to live uh, live communally even or have um androgyny or polygamy or not, what do they call it, more than one husband like they have in Tibet, or polygamy like in the Old Testament. um, it could it could it could exist, but because of the hardness of human hearts and misunderstanding, we don't have those kind of things anymore.
Ray, just one request. Could you move a little bit back because
Oh
your
yes,
half
uh-huh.
face is seen. How is it on Venus? I mean, is there just partnerships, one man and one woman? How are they living partnerships on Venus?
Uh, no, they don't really they don't really have a like a ceremony or anything because um, it says that they're neither um, that in celestial realms they are not given in marriage. In other words, there's not like a formal ceremony of any kind.
Are you talking about the astral dimension or the
Right,
non-physical dimension?
right. Higher dimensional level. Mhm.
Okay, but when we are trying to find a new template for partnerships on Earth, and we look at advanced civilizations like the Venusians, I mean the physical aspect, what is the highest physical way of living partnerships? How do partners mate and meet?
Oh yeah. Well,
And
Howard
again,
mentioned
Ray, you
also.
have to be a little bit more away from the camera, please.
Okay.
Because
Let me.
when you're so close, you only your face, only your eyes.
I have the script in front of me, so I was trying to.
Out.
I,
You can
I
lean
was
back
trying
because
to.
I have the script here.
Okay. Let me pull the script down. That way, I could see what's coming across there. Oh, okay. How's that?
That's much better. I mean, I want to continue with the Gospels anyway, but maybe we continue with the Gospels and talk about this.
Okay. For a detailed answer to that, though, I would uh, request that everybody just read uh, the second to last chapter there in Venus Rising, because Howard and Connie Menger talk about natural couples and relations on other planets.
So would you say that in higher consciousness civilizations or on other planets that there are only natural couples together?
Yes, I would say. Well, though there are singles, there are single people. They don't have to be uh, uh, with a natural partner.
And what is the difference between, I mean, is the soul deciding whether it wants to be single or whether it wants to have a partner, or is it a matter of soul's choice for some special reasons that people are either together or alone? What's the difference?
Because they choose to be together and they have a common purpose.
They have a common purpose. So the common purpose is mandatory to have, so that the partnership or the
A common purpose, and they're also at a comparatively equal level of spiritual development and understanding.
is that something that the soul chooses? I mean, on Earth, as far as I understand and as far as I've learned from Omnic, since we are going through kind of a forgetting who we really are and that we are soul, I mean, unless now we wake up, but normally and in other lives and previously, we go through the birth process and forget completely everything after a while. And so the soul chooses its path, and usually we are not aware of what we have chosen as the soul before incarnation. As far
Yes,
as
and it could also be that you're drawn to souls that you are linked with throughout the eternities.
and when you are on a conscious level, I mean, on another planet or in a higher realm of consciousness, then you are always conscious, right? You are always in soul consciousness.
You would know automatically who these partners are.
Uh,
Versus here on Earth where there's a veil, but you would have a heart affiliation, affinity, a connection uh, through the heart with somebody that you were with in a prior incarnation.
okay. Okay, we are almost through. Let's go to chapter 95. C4 stands before the king. And when King Misdeus, his friend, heard this, he saith to him, he got grieved, be not grieved nor heavy, for I will send for him and avenge thee, and thou shalt have thy wife again, and the others that cannot, I will avenge. I don't know the word. What is it? How do you pronounce it? Avenge?
Avenge, yes.
Avenge. Okay, be not grieved nor heavy, for I will send for him and avenge thee, and thou shalt have thy wife again, and the others that cannot, I will avenge. Who are these others? The others that cannot come, word missing, or who is meant? Oh, I think this is tricky. We have to look at it deeper. What is
Oh yes.
chapter
So
95, C4 stands before the king.
okay, and when King Messiah heard this, he saith unto him, okay, and the king went forth and sat on the judgment seat, and when he was situated, he commanded Schäfer, the captain, to be called. They went therefore unto his house and found him sitting on my right hand and Macedonia at my feet, hearkening to me with all the multitude. And they were sent from the king unto Schäfer. Sit thou here listening to vain words. And Misdeus the king in his wrath thinketh to destroy thee because of this sorcerer and deceiver whom thou hast brought into thine house. Schäfer, not because of the king's threat against him, but for me, the apostle, because the king was disposed contrary to me. I'm grieved concerning thee, for I told thee at the first that the woman is the wife of Tiresias, the king's friend and kinsman. He will not suffer her to perform that she hath promised, and all that he asks of the king, he grants him. But I said unto Schäfer, fear not, fear nothing, but believe in Jesus that pleads for us all. For unto his refuge are we gathered together. And Schäfer, hearing that, put his garment about him and went unto Mistaeus the king. Okay. So the question is, who are these others? The others that cannot come, word missing, or who is meant. Okay. And heard this, he said unto him, and when King Mistaeus, his friend, heard this, he saith to him, be not grieved nor heavy, for I will send for him and avenge thee, and thou shalt have thy wife again, and others that cannot, I will avenge. Okay, so who are these others? The others that cannot come, that cannot come. Okay, so apparently these are the Christians. This is Schäfer, and this is Thomas, and those that are with him.
So is the word come missing here? Or I think I don't really get it at the moment.
The others that cannot come.
Or that, I mean, the others that cannot, I will avenge. What cannot what?
They cannot come unto the king to answer for these things.
So the word come is missing. Am I right?
Yeah, it does say he commanded Schäfer, the captain, to be called. So they went therefore unto his house and found him sitting at my right hand and Macdonia at my feet. This is at the feet of Thomas.
Yes.
So this was the ones that he wanted to come there were Schäfer, the captain that had been converted, and Thomas and the Christians that had persuaded his wife to be a Christian.
Okay.
But I said unto Schäfer, fear nothing, but believe in Jesus. And Schäfer, hearing that, put his garment about him and went unto Mistaeus the king. So, he was persuaded to just appear before the king no matter what, face the consequences, right?
Okay, so what shall I do now with my sentence in question? And the others that cannot, I will avenge. Is that correct now?
Yeah, the others that cannot come.
So the word come needs to be put in there.
Yeah, I would put that in.
All right. Chapter 98.
Or if you want to be more specific and say the other Christians. Or just say the Christians that cannot come. But I think it's probably all right the way it is.
Well, the way it is, there is no come.
Oh, yeah, leave come in there. Yeah.
No, I have to put it in. It was not in.
Yeah.
The original was, and thou shalt have thy wife again, and the others that cannot, I will avenge. This is incomplete, isn't it?
And the others. And the others that cannot come, I will avenge. Or the others that cannot present themselves, I will. And for the others that cannot present themselves, I will avenge.
You are seeing it in the book, are you?
Oh, I'm looking in the book.
And the others that cannot, I will avenge. So we put the come in it and then it's good.
Yeah.
All right. Chapter 98, King dispatches soldiers. We have to look where it is. But Mygdonia he found not, for he had withdrawn herself unto her house, having learned that it had been told her husband that she was there. My goodness. In this context, I do not understand the term unto her house because she was not at home, but in Sifor's house where she felt safe from her husband Charisius.
Oh, okay. So she felt that she should go home because um, that's where he was looking for her. That's where the king was looking for her. So he found not Mygdonia, uh, for she had withdrawn herself to her house, unto her house, having learned that it had been told her husband that she was there. So she wanted to be there when he came looking for her. In other words, she went home because that's where her husband expected to find her.
I will bring him, O king, and Mygdonia, whose understanding he hath taken away. And he came to the house of Sifor. So the king came, or Charisius came. He came to the house of Sifor, the captain, greatly disturbed, and found him me teaching. But Mygdonia he found not, for she had withdrawn herself unto her house, having learned that it had been told her husband that she was there.
So she came. He came looking for her at Cypher's house, but she had gone back home.
Exactly, this was my problem because she was not at home. She felt safe. She did not feel safe. She wanted to leave C4 because she was converted to Thomas and to everything and to Christ and to Jesus. So she was not at home, I believe. And she did not want to go home.
Hmm.
And Teresa said unto me, but I think I'm losing concentration right now. I would have to read it again and look again because I must have had a reason when I made my note. But I think I can't concentrate anymore.
Thomas the apostle and all others that were found there. And they that were sent entered in and found me teaching much people with Mygdonia sitting at my feet. And when they
Exactly.
beheld the great multitude that were about me, they feared and departed to their king and said, we durst not say aught unto him, for there was a great and Mygdonia said, okay. And when the king heard these things, laid out her and treat woman and said, I will bring him. And he came to that greatly disturbed Mygdonia, he found not evident. Oh, okay. So after this meeting, she went home. Uh, that's basically what it's saying.
Oh, okay.
So
Having learned that it had been.
yeah, there was a meeting held at Schäfer's house with all the Christians, including Thomas. And after it was over, she went back home because she didn't want any problems.
Okay. Okay, let's leave it like that for now. I have to probably read it deeper again and understand. Let's go to chapter 99. Apostle Thomas arrested, and Carisius said unto me, chapter 99. Carisius said unto me, Up, thou wicked one and destroyer and enemy of mine house, for me thy sorcery harms not, for I will visit thy sorcery on thine head. Do not understand, visit thy sorcery on thy head.
Oh, so he's going to turn it. He said he's going to turn it against him. He feels that he feels that Thomas is some sort of sorcerer, and he's going to turn that against him.
Thank you. Okay, I got it. Chapter 100, Psalm of the Soul. Gold of Beth Eliah and silver of Gazak the Great and rubies of India and agates from Kushan. Is Gazak a person or a land? I cannot find it on maps. I found this text as Psalm of the Pearl on the internet. Is this the same text?
Oh yes, this is yeah, that's a land. That's a land. So this is a song that's translated as well. So it doesn't need to be exact because you can't really make an exact.
Okay. Okay, perfect. Thank you. Then chapter 117, it's Tiresias decides on course of action. And I said unto Mygdonia, my daughter Mygdonia, insofar as ye are not of the house of Israel, and that your life may go well with you, obey that which Tiresias saith, should you find it in your heart to continue in your marriage with him. Nevertheless, ye are free in Christ, an agent unto yourself in this matter. House of Israel, what is meant by that? In so far
Well,
as ye are not of the house of Israel.
yeah, Mygdonia was a Hindu and not Jewish.
Okay, house of Israel is Israel.
Right. Uh-huh.
Okay, then I would simply put it in German as Israel and not house von Israel. I don't. Why do you use, is the word house used in this context?
The house of Israel is inclusive of being a member of one of the 12 tribes of Israel. And so Mygdonia was not.
Yeah, she was Indian.
Right. So she's not bound by um, the laws of pertaining to a member of the house of Israel. In other words, he's saying you could go and work it out with him, or you could do as your heart uh, leads you to do.
Yes.
So you're free in Christ. You're
Okay.
an agent unto yourself.
Okay. Thank you. Chapter 130, Thomas' revelation inspires a vision of the Christ, his mother Mary, and he was known as the son of Joseph the carpenter. Okay, there seems to be something weird in the sentence. His mother Mary, and he was known as the son of Joseph the carpenter.
Oh, his mother was Mary.
His mother was Mary.
and he was known as the son of Joseph, the carpenter.
Okay, the was missing.
Right.
142. Mysterious voice. For the call. And for the gal,
Gall.
G-A, gall, and for the gal,
Right.
which thou didst drink for our sake, killest the gall of the devil, be removed from us, and for the vinegar which thou hast drunk for us, let our
So
weakness.
the gall is what they gave, what the Romans put up on that stick to Jesus when he was on the cross.
Yeah.
In the vinegar.
That? No.
So this is just figurative of what Jesus had to, the only thing he had to drink when he was on the cross. So it just referring to Jesus on the cross.
And for the spitting which thou didst receive for us, let us receive the dew of thy goodness. Spitting, I think I had a problem with.
When people were spitting at Jesus when he was on the cross. So this is all figurative language about, turning the suffering, examples of the suffering that Jesus went through, of turning it around. That all that he went through is actually a blessing for humankind.
Okay.
In other words, to say that it wasn't for nothing that you went through all these ordeals for Jesus, have gone through these ordeals. Maybe that could be like a footnote.
Okay, I have to go through it again and then I try to understand it better. For the 143 parting words for the women, for I go up unto my Lord and God Jesus Christ, unto him that sold me, selling in this context, I didn't get. You're not selling a person. I mean,
The one who that sold. Remember in the beginning, Thomas's services were contracted out or sold by Jesus to Honest to begin this whole mission in India.
yes, it's just the term that I don't know if I can use that in German, because selling is really selling. I mean, selling, I'm selling a table, I'm selling a glass, I'm not selling a person.
Okay.
And maybe sent.
It does in English, but let's put it
Is there a
to
synonym?
him that sent me that sent me to you.
Okay.
That sent me here.
Okay, so instead of selling, I'd rather use sending. It's
that sent me here.
Yeah. 144, look forward for Jesus' return. Look for the coming of Christ, for he shall come and receive you. And this is how he shall appear. How he shall appear. He will, what is the meaning of how he shall appear? He will look
This is how he will look.
How he will look. And this is how he will look. Yes?
Yes.
100, how he will look. 147, Jesus' power transcends death. And Miss Deus saith to me, how didst thou run away and come into this country? Run away, escape, or how didst thou run away and come into this country? How did thou run away? Run away is not escaping, the meaning of escaping. Miss Deus,
Yes. You could just say, how did you arrive in my country?
arrive in my country. And I explained, I was sold hither by my master. Again, I was sent by my master.
I was sent here by my master.
Okay, 150, Thomas prays for the work of the ministry. I have become a bondman. Therefore, today I do receive my freedom. A bondman, it's normally in dictionary, it's a slave, but I don't want to say slave here. I have become, who is saying that? 150.
Oh,
It's Thomas.
I have become a servant.
A servant.
Or I have made myself a servant.
I have made myself
a servant.
A servant. Yeah, not bondman, no.
Yeah, bondman is more like an indentured servant.
All right. 152.
Sound better to say servant, I think.
Yeah, in this context. In German, I mean, in German, it wouldn't be nice to say slave because this would be the translation. But slave is not what we want to say, right? Thomas is not calling himself a slave.
No, he's
servant. Yeah. Ministry of Angel. No. No.
Know ye now.
Know ye now that I am not here in the material world, but I have gone up and received all that I was promised. But rise up and go down hence, for after a little time ye also shall be gathered unto me. What is meant with go down here and with rise up, ascend?
Oh, yes. So you could say, ye is you. Know you now that I am not here in the material world. Or know you now that I am not in a material body.
Yeah, in the world is fine, but I have gone up and received all that I was promised, but rise up and go down hence. For after a little time ye also shall be gathered unto me. But rise up and go down hence. Who is he talking to?
He's talking to the people that were in that room. But I have gone up and received all that I was promised. So now he's in a spiritual body. He's an angel. But rise up and go down hence, for after a little time you shall be gathered unto me.
And
But
what does
one
go
day,
down here? Go down, exactly. Rise up and go down hence.
but I would say, yeah, that's not really all that clear. I would just say, for one day, you shall be gathered. For after a little time, uh, but continue steadfastly, for after a little time, you shall be gathered unto me. In other words, go down hence, return to the world of men and women. In other words, continue steadfastly, for after a little time you shall be gathered unto me.
Okay, I do my best. Just 3 last things from the Gospel of Mary Magdalene.
Oh, okay.
Jesus said there is no sin per se to be found in the natural order of the world, but when we stray from the illumined path by committing adultery or other actions contrary to the Decalogue, we retard our own spiritual progress. Yeah, again, the adultery, we already discussed that. And what is Decalogue? Short footnote.
Oh, the Decalogue is the 10 Commandments.
Mm. Okay. Those not finding the flame of truth have been buffeted
Uh-huh.
by disturbances to their natural body. This is why they have experienced sickness and eventually death. Sickness meaning physical or mental sickness?
It could be both. The trials and tribulations of the world.
Because it looks like, I had to think of Omnek, for example, because she and you as well. I mean, many people have sicknesses, and this does not mean this is that they have not found the flame of truth. I mean, this sentence says those not finding the flame of truth have been buffeted by disturbances to their natural body. This is why they have experienced sickness and eventually death.
Those not finding the flame of truth have been buffeted by disturbances to their natural body.
So does that mean that your sickness or your handicap and Omnek's handicap, it does not reflect that you have not found the flame of truth? That's not true. You have found the flame of truth.
Yeah, I think it's how you would define the flame of truth, because here she's talking about a bodily ascension. So it would be,
Okay, I think we just leave it like that. Maybe we just accept it the way it's written. Would be something for a footnote, maybe. Or
yeah, I'm not really sure. Those not finding the flame of truth have been buffeted by disturbances to their natural body. This is why they have experienced those not finding the flame of truth. Yeah, I'm not really sure.
I have to look at the context again.
Yeah.
Jesus said there is no sin per se. Oh, this is what we had before. To be found in the natural order, blah blah. And I came into your midst to set a torch before you and reset your feet upon the illumined path. Those not finding the flame of truth have been buffeted by disturbances to their natural body. This is why they have experienced sickness and eventually death. But take courage, dear souls, for those abiding in the Spirit will live forever. I mean, sickness and death. Yeah, okay. Maybe it's something we just have to accept.
Okay, so it's making a distinction between living in the material world and this and eternal life in the spirit. Uh, so what would be a better way to frame that? Um,
Maybe it's true. Maybe there's nothing to change.
yeah, the flame of truth, maybe something akin to godhood or some kind of angelic state,
Mm-hmm.
because Jesus is often called the flame of truth. Um, yeah, I think it's
Let's just leave it for now, Ray. I
oh,
look at it
okay.
again.
I'll have to think about
Yeah,
that.
I have to think about it again too. And so I was just, for some reason, I was stumbling over it. And then there is just one last thing. Do not lay down any rules beyond that which I have appointed for you, and do not give a law like the lawgiver, lest you be constrained by it. Give a law, meaning pass a law or force laws on others.
Oh yes, like any kind of religious laws, um, religious observances, and things other than those given by God or by Jesus. When he said that he summarized the whole law and the whole law into just love God and love your neighbor. Beyond this, there is no law. So it makes sense in the things that Jesus said and did.
So it says in German, do not give a law. If just for my understanding, this means do not force laws on others or do not pass laws. Do not give a law like the lawgiver. Can you say this in other words?
Yes. Do not give a law like the lawgiver would be like possibly a reference to Moses. Do not give a law like the lawgiver or some religious authority,
Mm-hmm.
because you yourself will be forced to abide by it and be judged by it.
I
So
see.
yeah, Jesus was just saying that there's only two laws: love God and love your neighbor. So don't force people to abide by any laws other than those.
Love God and love your neighbor. And what about love yourself? Why isn't that included?
Oh, love your neighbor as yourself is what it says. So yeah, of course you should love yourself. It says, love God and love your neighbor as yourself.
That's a trinity, isn't it? I mean, this is myself, this is you, and there's God.
Yes. Uh-huh. Yeah, that's a perfect trinity.
Ray, I thank you so much. I think I have to go through this tomorrow again, and I just will leave it like
Yeah,
that unless I have something. Hmm?
I'm not sure about that verse, the penultimate one there about the flame of truth. Um, I know the context that she was talking about it is in the she's talking about like a godlike divine angelic power that supersedes the natural body that only a few people have really experienced.
Mm-hmm.
And like Annalise Guerin or Enoch of old, and they were taken up into heaven without physically dying.
Mm-hmm.
But this would be just a few people, a small minority. It wouldn't be it it wouldn't be or like Mary, Jesus's mother, or Mary Magdalene herself about being like an ascended master. So it would be those not those not ascending to the status of an ascended master have been buffeted by disturbances to their natural body. This is the condition, this is the condition of most human beings who have experienced sickness and eventually a physical death.
Well, this is why I was thinking of Omnic, because I don't know, maybe I'm wrong, but in my perception, it is actually after her stroke that she became a master. Or maybe it was my vision or my perception that I did not see it beforehand, but it was not. I feel the physical condition in her particular case is even making her ascending, because she's even serving more, she's serving deeper, she is it's from my perspective her stroke, and it is can be seen as a physical sickness, but it is part of her path and of her service, I feel.
Oh, okay. Hmm. Yeah. I wonder though if there's because we're talking about people, prophets, seers, revelators, saints that have these individuals that have become ascended masters while still on the earth plane. But would Omnek be an ascended master or a great teacher?
Well, I believe that when she's leaving, that she will be an ascended master.
Oh yeah, I believe that no matter which way she goes.
Yeah, no matter which way she goes, probably her physical self will just stay here. I don't think that she's going to be an, what is it, a translated being. I mean, I don't know, how can I know that, but I feel from her heart that she has even become more loving and bigger than she was when she started her journey on earth.
Could we say that, because I'm looking at this now, and could we say um, there are some who, comma, finding the flame, or there are some who, comma, abiding in the flame of truth, are no longer buffeted by disturbances to their natural body. Or there are a few, there are a few, comma, abiding in the flame of truth, who are no longer buffeted by disturbances to their natural body. Um, these are the ones, these are the few who no longer experience sickness and eventually death. Or these are the few, uh, like Enoch of old, who no longer experience sickness and eventually death.
Well, maybe if you want to write it down later, I think I'm not sure now if I don't have it.
Okay. Yeah, I'll send that to you.
If you
And
can.
because we're talking about beings of the highest order, like Enoch,
Okay.
and it says there that Enoch was a friend of God and walked with him in the Garden of Eden until one day he was no more, for God took him. For God took him up into heaven without ever dying. And then the same thing is Jesus promised John, um, John, the Apostle John, that he would live forever on the earth until he himself returned to the earth. But it didn't. But you see that John was suffering by the persecution, and growing old on the island of Patmos, which means that possibly at the time of his death or thereafter, um, he must have been rejuvenated and given a new body, a new material body, uh, for his spirit to dwell in until such time as Jesus would come back.
Hmm.
So, in other words, these verses here of Mary Magdalene are talking about a kind of being that's at the highest pinnacle of spirituality, a being like unto Jesus.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not. It wouldn't even apply to
Mm-hmm.
to others. Maybe Saint Germain or some other people like that.
Mm-hmm. These are very rare, I guess.
Yeah, this is a referring to a bit. So I see it needs to be reworded um, to to explain that. So I'll work on that and send that to you.
Oh, that would be awesome. Thank you.
It's not bad the way it is, but it 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 needs further explanation. It could either be by footnote or by slightly altering the way it's presented.
Yeah, that would be helpful because we want to understand it, you know. If we take the time
Yes.
to read it, it should be at least somehow understandable. Is there somebody?
Oh, it's Rob Potter.
Okay, thank you, Raymond. We are through. That's awesome. And when you have sent me whatever, whenever, because then I will continue with, I will go through everything again and finish the German.
Oh, okay, Anja. Wow, that was quite an accomplishment
Yes,
that we went all the way through that today.
yes.
Well,
Yeah,
I will send a proper interpretation of that verse to the best of my ability.
well, you can do it however, anyhow you want, you know, whether just rephrase it a little bit or with a footnote so that it's,
The one who writes about things like this and has written books about this very subject is Annalise Guerin. And she was very old, um, and she had all of her teeth missing. At the point that she was ascended or translated into heaven, she grew new teeth, and she was rejuvenated into like a teenager.
Wow. Omnic would love
So,
that.
but she did experience aging and everything else up to the point that, and then she would just like changed in the twinkling of an eye.
Wow.
So I have to I have to relook at that. And I'm sure that at the end of Mary Magdalene's time on earth, I'm pretty sure that she was in that category, that she was caught up into heaven, just like Jesus's own mother.
And Mary Magdalene went to France. Is that the northern country?
Yes, to France and to England, different countries on the way north of Israel.
And have you ever heard of that, or can you relate to this? Because many people nowadays say that Jesus Christ and Mary Magdalene were twin flames.
Oh yes, and there's when I went to Glastonbury, um, I was given a lot of material about Jesus coming over there to visit with Mary Magdalene and Joseph of Arimathea. They built the first Christian church there on the grounds where Joseph of Arimathea planted his staff and brought Mary Magdalene there to the country. And so I know that was divinely inspired, that I go there to, and as it turned out, that I actually did the presentation in the Glastonbury Abbey itself.
Wow.
And introduced the Gospel of Mary Magdalene there. So that was a wonderful wonderful event. So I know it's true. And this one lady who did all the research and has files and files and books on it, on the subject, she's the one that gave me a tour of the Glastonbury Abbey, and gave me some information that she Xeroxed it from her files and everything. So one of these days I'll have to present it either in a book or an article or on a podcast, and that Mary Magdalene was there in Glastonbury.
Wow. Then
Well, thank you so much, Anja.
thank you
God
so
bless you
much.
mightily, and talk to you soon.
Talk to you soon. See you soon. Very soon. Bye bye, Ray.
Bye now.
Bye now.
Love of Twin Souls.